Okay, here we go. Fuit, auctor. So he was the auctor. He was the guy behind it all happening for the tribute of the plebs, for assorted them adile. This would be some dirty adile. He's corrupt. And so he appointed tribunes of the pleb to look into these actions of repetendorums of gerund, and of seeking judges, as we see it's in plural, so it'd be jurymen, from the Senate petenda. So he would be sought from him from the Senate that they could appoint jurors over these corrupt people, and quoque means also with magistrates of the city, and the praesidibus, those people in charge of the provinces. He applied some due care to that means to check their power, basically, coercendus, another gerunding looking thing, so that they were never ever, umquams ever, more modest or good, and neither were they more just, did they show themselves to be than at that time under him. The quibus from these judges looks like post illum, after him, pleros qui rios. Many of them became accused. Vidimus, we see so Rios is actually defending himself in courts for all sorts of crimes, omnium criminum. He took up the correction of mores, that's the morals basically. In Hibwood, we applied some, looks like he's ended the theatrical license, or the license of people in their theatre, in which they promiscuous, they mixed in with the knights. So there's an area for the knights on spectanding and means of watching. So that part of theatre, there's an area for knights to watch, and he's ended this licenseness of it. Scripta famosa, so something was written about famous people. Edita means it was produced, and it was for the common people, the vulgar people. So these were about the primors, the leading viri, the leading men and women of the time who were famous. It looks like lampoons were produced about them and distributed, in which these men were known, men and women were known. He abolished these being lampoons being produced, and not without some ignominy or disgrace of the authors of these bits of work. Quaestorium virum, a quaestor man, because of his gesticulating and his dancing, his saltanti, with his desire of these things, these gerunds. What am I talking about there? Genitives as well. So there was a quaestor man who was very desirous of gesticulating and dancing. He removed him from the Senate. What do we got? Probrosis. Anytime you see that R after the B, it's a bit of a disgrace. So with something to do with notorious women or unapproved of women, he removed their use of the lectica. This is like a litter that they get carried around in, and their rights of taking estates or being heirs, or so he took away the rights of inheriting a lot of wealth or whatever. An a equitem, so a Roman knight, it's in the accusative, because of a reductam uxor, he's reducted to marry a wife, they say to lead a wife from Duco. So means he's remarried his wife in the matrimony, to who he had dismissed in tenderat. He'd brought in some crimes of adultery, and he dismissed her or divorced her. He erased this judicum albo, so both of these decisions were overcome. So he obviously didn't like this guy remarrying a wife who he'd accused of adultery and dismissed her and divorced her. So he's looks like he's got rid of this Roman knight, or he's done something to him. Quos them, certain people from both orders he condemned under the leg scantia, which is a homosexual law. So certain people must have been prosecuted. Okay, so Proboscis is the Daily Dictionary word. Shameful, disreputable. In the sus family of adjectives. Okay, an incesta of Vestalia and Virgil, so she's unchaste, she's sexually active or something, which by his father and also his brother, patro suo means his, and his brother, this law was neglected, but variously and severely he's checked this again, he's stopped it again. The prior offence with capital supplication, with capital punishment, and then afterwards, after a while, actually, so that looks like in the beginning, and then afterwards in the more veterite in the old way, which is probably burying him alive or something. For with the Occulatus sisters, likewise Veroniliae, he permitted the liberty of their death, the freedom of choice of their death maybe. Arbitrum, arbitrum is the decision of choosing your own death, and the corruptors, the persons that they were having sex with, they were relegated, so they were put into exile. Soon or afterwards, Cornelia, the maximum virgin, she's the main head virgin or whatever, who had Olim. Once upon a time she had been absolved, but then after a long interval, post a long interval, she repeated the offence and was convicted, and he ordered her to be defodied, buried alive. Okay. There's a qui for and the stuprators of the virgin, these are the people who defiled them. I think that's a proper noun. In the comitium, they were cadied, they were killed to death, beaten to death, you might want to say. Actually, that's probably with rods. With the exception of a Praetorian man. Okay, where are we going down to here? If that was of the virgin, be Virgonis or something for the genitive. Anyway, to who this Praetorian man, even when there was doubt in the case then at the time, he's professed concerning himself, with the Inquisition still uncertain, and there was some tormenting or torturing going on of witnesses, which was pretty common back then. They would torture slaves, etc., and other people to get witnesses out of them. And anyway, he indulged this man in giving him exile. Ac nequa, unless anything religious of the gods be contaminated unpunished or impunitively or whatever. There was a monument, it's probably a term, which was of his freemen, his libertus, which is from the Lapidibus's Templo Capitoline Jovis. So these are from stones from the temple of Capitoline Jove. So he's extrurated, so okay. Looks like these freemen built a monument, a tomb for his filio, for his son, which had been destined for the to build a temple to Jupiter. So via his soldiers, through his soldiers, he derailed this tomb, he pulled it down, and the bones and the remaining things which were in it were submerged in the Mare, which is the sea. Part IX, 9. Into his initial part of his reigning, as far as up till Usquiadio to anyway, from all slaughter he abhorred from. So he abhorred from all types of slaughter as far as his initial part of it was. So that ad hoc, with still his patre, his father being absent, he was remembering this verse of Virgil from the Gorgics or whatever. Impius Genses, and Impius Genses, which at Pulata was feasted on the slaughtered bullocks. So he decided to make this edict that boves, which are cattle or oxen, should not be, there's the nay for negative, a mole or unted, so they shouldn't be sacrificed. So he wanted to abhor from all types of slaughter in his initial part of his ruling. Of Cupiditas, of desires also and avarice, scarcely there was any suspicion, either in his private life, ever, or when he was princeps, which is emperor, and aliquamdu for some time. He gave what did he give? Experimenta. So he gave testings or examples, Imos more precisely, often great diverse types of evidences, not only of his abstemiousness or his sparingness or his self-control, but even of his generosity, his liberatitas, and omnis circus, everything around him, all the people around him, I want to say, followed up with a lot of largesse, which is being generous again. Nothing prior or more fiercer that he advised than that they should not do anything, ne quid sordide, dirty or niggardly or something.